This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, covering the entire National Football League like a blanket. I, of course, am your host, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me on this program. Detroit Lions at home taking on the Tennessee Titans, coming off of that huge win on the road versus the Indianapolis Colts. Could the Lions follow that up with an encore performance to get them to 2-0 on the season? For the Titans, tough loss against a team in that same division in the NFC North in the Minnesota Vikings. Can they go on the road and avenge that loss and get to 1-1 on the season? I didn't have any confidence in the Titans whatsoever to go on the road and win this football game. As a matter of fact, I made this my sole survivor pick of week number 2, and I regretted it after seeing the outcome. Now, I was going to come up here and absolutely kill the Lions today. Hadn't watched the game yet, so I wanted to wait to make sure that I had every reason to be upset. And after watching the game, I'm not as upset as I was prior to seeing the game. They had opportunities, though, did the Lions in this game. This game was horribly officiated. Terrible officiating by the crew. They looked like they were trying to set the record for most penalties called in a game. This looked like a preseason game in terms of the officials. A lot of ticky-tack stuff called. You can't play football and want to call. There are penalties on every single play if you want to throw the flag. And they literally wanted to throw the flag on every single play. You got to let the guys play. I didn't think they let them play at all in this game, but we'll get to all of that in this breakdown. But let's first welcome any newcomers to the channel. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content. Also, I'm on Twitter, at In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me there. If you're watching and you're on Twitter or you're on the actual live feed and you want your voice to be heard, use the hashtag LouieTeeLab. Also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page as well. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up and a like on the Facebook page while you are at it. So let's jump into this breakdown. Titans and Lions, week number 2, National Football League. Let's talk about this game and how the Titans got their first win of the season. We go likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. We start with the likes in this game, and I always like to start with the road team, so we'll start with the Titans and their likes. Not a lot to like from the Titans in the first half of this football game. Thought it was sloppily played by both teams, particularly by the Titans in that first half. Big DeMarco Murray run is the only thing that I have on my likes list in the first half of them. Didn't think they did all that much on the offensive side of football. Defensively, I thought that the penalties really gave them an opportunity. Had a safety, did the Titans, that they gave up. They struggled in the first half offensively. They struggled really defensively at times in that first half. But like I said, the penalties balanced things out for them and gave them an opportunity to hang tough in this football game. Let's get to the Lions. Again, not a lot to like from them either. Again, this was a sloppily played football game, especially in the first half. Really, you could argue the entire game when the score is 16-15, not a lot of fireworks. You could argue that it was a very sloppy football game. Normally when it looks like that, when the score looks like 16-15, a lot of defense involved. Beg to differ here. The defense wasn't great on either side in this game, but there were a lot of penalties and, like I said, a lot of sloppy football in this football game. Glover Quinn with an interception, the only like for the Lions in the first half. They should have run away with this game in the first half. They were up 9-0, had a chance, got a safety, got a touchdown, jumped out to a 9-0 lead, had opportunities to get in the end zone. We'll talk about some of the calls that negated touchdowns as we get to the dislikes, but they had opportunities to run away with this game, and they just failed to do so. They allowed a team to hang around and steal this ball game at the end at the Detroit Lions. Let's get to the dislikes for the first half. Missed 51-yard field goal by Ryan Suckup. Look, Titans are going to score a bunch of points this season. They're not built to score a bunch of points. They're going to grind it out. They're going to run the football. They're going to try to protect Marcus Mariota. They're not going to score 35 points many times this season. But what they need to be able to do is count on their field goal kicker when they put him on the field to knock home field goals, because, again, they're going to win a lot of games this year. If they win a lot of games, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be 19-16. It's going to be like this, 16-15. It's going to be 22, where you're talking about 3 or 4 field goals in the course of the game that they're going to have to rely on their field goal kicker to make them. Ryan Suckup needs to bang it home from 51 in a controlled climate like a dome, like they were playing in at Ford Field in Detroit. You got to knock it home from 51. Can't miss that field goal. Could have cost them, if you look at the outcome of this game. If they end up losing this game by a point or two, that 51-yard field goal would have loomed large. Jack Conklin getting beat for a safety can't happen. Not on a run play. I thought the announcer did a great job of basically telling us that on a running play like that, you can't absorb contact. Okay, you got to go out and dish it out. You got to come off the ball, fire off the ball, and inflict punishment, not take it in. And he got beat up on the play by Devin Taylor and allowed him to get into the backfield and get DeMarco Murray down before he could even get going for a safety. Can't happen. This isn't Michigan State. Got to tighten up there if you're Jack Conklin. And the penalties. 7 penalties called on the Titans in the first half. That's way too many. But if you thought that was bad, just wait till we get to the Lions and their penalty output for the first half. Let's get to the Lions and their first half dislikes. Eric Ebron holding penalty negates a touchdown run by Amir Abdullah, AA. But 2 plays later, they were able to overcome that. Anquan Bolden gets in the end zone on the touchdown. So as bad as that holding penalty was on the part of Ebron, they were able to overcome that and still get into the end zone to get out to a 9-0 lead. 10 first half penalties. Yes, double digits, 10 in the first half of the Detroit Lions. Not all of them warranted either. We'll talk about that here in a second, but 10 penalties is way too many. And yes, I know that officiating crew was out of line and they threw a bunch of flags, but you got to find a way to not put yourself in a position to get flagged. Don't give them an opportunity. We know a lot of these penalties are subjective. Don't give them an opportunity and a reason to call these flags. The Lions put themselves in some precarious situations in this ball game. Injuries. Amir Abdullah, AA, went down with a foot injury. X-rays have been reportedly negative, which is a great sign for them. He's one of those guys that can make a difference. We saw him making some sharp cuts. As a matter of fact, on the play that he injured his foot, a couple of sharp cuts where he stuck his foot in the ground, made guys miss. That's a huge part of his game, and if his foot isn't right, he's not the same guy. So hopefully he'll be able to return to action sooner rather than later. And Ezekiel Ziggy Ansah also was injured in this game. That's a huge injury. Not a lot of pressure on Marcus Mariota in this game, and that's a huge part of the reason why no Ziggy Ansah for the majority of this game. He left and did not return. Hopefully he will be okay as well. 2 penalties negate touchdowns for the Lions on the same possession. You had an Ebron touchdown that was called back. Thought this was, of all the calls on the Lions on the day, I thought this was the most egregious and probably the most costly. They called him on offensive pass interference on a play where Stafford rolls out of the pocket and needs Ebron to uncover. He then stops. The defender kind of drifts by. Maybe he gives him a little bit of a push, but it wasn't an extension of the arm. It wasn't egregious enough to have the flag come out. Like I said, this officiating crew was gung-ho, and they were going to throw flags, and they were hell-bent on flagging up any penalty that they thought they may have seen. I thought that was an egregious call, probably the worst of the day, definitely the most costly because that was a touchdown. Instead, you wipe the touchdown off the scoreboard. Then they get another touchdown 2 plays later to Anquan Bolden. They call another penalty, this time holding on an offensive lineman. That drove them back yet again. They went from, I want to say it was 1st and goal to 1st and goal from the 1 to 1st and goal from the 27. Okay, that's how many penalties they had in that one little stretch. and were forced to kick a field goal. Though that was a huge turning point in the game, because if they get a touchdown there, they're probably going to win this football game. And I thought it was a really poor call by the officials on the Ebron push-off. That, to me, was not a push-off. So the officials really impacted this game negatively and put the Lions in a really tough spot. Let's go to the likes in the second half of both teams. And let's go to the Titans first. Hanging in on the road. This is a young football team, and they could have been out of this game on a number of occasions. Again, give some credit to the officials for giving them an opportunity to hang in on the road. But make no mistake about it, they made some plays in this game. Don't take anything away from the Titans. They made defensive stops when they needed to. They got some things going offensively when they needed to. And they gave themselves a chance on the road in a game that didn't start well for them with the safety and then giving up a touchdown and was down 9-0, missing a field goal early. They could have gotten down on themselves and saw this game slip away, but instead they hung tough and made this an ugly game. They mucked it up, and they found a way to steal it at the end. That's big time for a young football team like the Tennessee Titans. DeMarco Murray's on my likes list. Some huge catches on that final drive that allowed them to win this game. He ran the football effectively, had a huge 65, 70-yard run from the shadow of his own goal line to get them out of harm's way, put them in a position to put some points up on the scoreboard and get their first field goal of the game. DeMarco Murray, 12 carries, 89 yards, also caught the football effectively out of the backfield. Thought he was huge for them, and that's why they brought him here from Philadelphia in that trade, because this guy can be a difference maker, and that he was in this ball game. The game-winning drive is on my likes list as well. 13 plays, 6 minutes, and 93 yards. They had to overcome a penalty that hurt them late in this drive to still get in the end zone. What a throw. Took some balls to even throw that football on fourth down to Andre Johnson, the one and only DRE, coming through big in the clutch for the Tennessee Titans. You want to know why they were able to trade away their big receiver to the Philadelphia Eagles? Here's the reason why. They felt good about Andre Johnson coming in and providing some veteran leadership and a veteran presence. And you saw it on this particular play, coming down with the football in double coverage. Don't know how Mariota got it in there. Don't know how Andre Johnson came down with it, but he did. And that was the difference in this game, as they were able to take the lead 16-15 on that fourth down conversion. A big play by the two of them. Huge drive by the Titans to find a way to get that football in the end zone, staring down a couple of big third downs. DeMarco Murray with a huge third down completion. And you just got to tip your cap to the Titans. Game on the line, getting it done like they did. Parrish Cox with the game-clinching interception is the final like on my list for the Titans in this ball game. I don't think the Lions were going to do anything anyway, but it was good to just put it away, not even leave it to chance. Get that interception, get the W, move on to next week. Big win for the Titans on the road versus the Detroit Lions. Likes in the second half for the Lions. And I actually read it backwards. The first half likes were Devin Taylor creating the safety, Matthew Stafford's competitiveness. I talked about the safety already by Devin Taylor. Huge play early in that ball game to give them a 2-0 lead. They would build off of that, get a touchdown, take a 9-0 lead. Stafford was very competitive in that first half. He ran the football, ran over Parrish Cox, who later on got revenge with the game-clinching interception, but ran him slam over on a play. I thought he was doing everything he could. He was running down the field 20 yards, blocking on a play. Stafford was extremely competitive. We saw that competitive fire at the end of that Colts game last week. Just loved his competitive spirit early in this ball game. And Kerry Hyder Jr., yet again with another sack, was on my likes list in the first half. He continues to be a force for them on that defensive line. So the second half likes was just the Glover Quinn interception. That was it. I didn't love anything really that the Lions did in the second half of this ball game. Offensively, too many penalties. They just kept killing themselves with the penalties. And again, some of them probably not warranted. But again, these officials, you saw what kind of game this was going to be. All right. Almost like a pitcher early in the game, seeing what the strike zone is going to be. As a batter, as a pitcher, you got to take that into consideration and then adjust. You should have seen how they were calling the game and you needed to adjust accordingly. I don't think the Lions ever really did that in this game, and it cost them mightily, as they don't get it done at home against a Titans team that you should be able to handle at the crib. Let's go to the dislikes for the second half in this game. Penalties, 12 total on the Titans in this game, 5 in the second half. Derailed a couple of drives, hurt them on defense a couple of times. Can't have these types. You're not good enough. I don't need to tell you that. You know you're not good enough to have 12 penalties in a game. Somehow, some way, you were able to come away with this W, and the reason was because you had 12 and the Titans, the Lions, had 17. So you were able to get away because they were just worse than you were. You weren't good. They just were worse. Mariota, is he injured? That's my last dislike. He couldn't take the knees at the end of the game. Saw a very noticeable limp as they left the field at the end of the game. Is he all right? Did he tweak a groin? Did he injure a knee? Did he injure an ankle? Something didn't look right. He looked very ginger leaving the field at the end of this ball game. I'm pretty sure everyone will tell you I'm fine, he's fine, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here, but something was wrong there if that guy can't take the knees to preserve the W at the end of the game and then has a noticeable limp as he leaves the field. Lions dislikes for the second half. Penalties, too many. I talked about it in the first half. It continued in the second half. Golden Tate with a huge penalty. Anquan Bolden with a huge penalty. Too many penalties, killing and derailing drives for the Lions in this football game. Just talked about the total amount, 17. That is way too many. And I venture to say that 17 penalty game and performance by the Lions is probably going to be one of the worst you'll see all season long. And we're only in week 2. I find it hard to believe anybody else is going to have more than 17 penalties in any given game this season. That was an atrocity put forth by the Detroit Lions. Inability to get Golden Tate involved. This is the second week in a row that Golden Tate has been a non-factor in the football game. And for a guy that when Calvin Johnson was out 2 years ago that had over 100 grabs and was a huge part of this offense, for him to basically be invisible right now is a monstrosity, and part of the reason why you're finding it hard to score points in a game like this. Golden Tate needs to be a bigger factor of this offense. I can't really explain why he's not being a bigger fixture, but they need to find ways to get him the football, whether it's handoffs, jet sweeps, wide receiver screens. This guy is lethal after the catch. With the ball in his hands, he turns into a punt returner, ex-running back. He runs physically. Get him the football. Doesn't matter at the line of scrimmage or past it. He needs to touch the football more in this game. Matthew Stafford missed his Golden Tate deep, and you could argue he missed him deep twice in this football game. Stafford was not accurate in the second half. He was not good for as well as I thought he played in the first half, making things happen. He was the direct opposite in the second half. I thought he was sporadic. I thought he made some poor decisions inside and outside the pocket, and he missed some guys down the field, including Golden Tate twice. One of those would have been a touchdown had he hit him in stride. And the Stafford interception is the final dislike in this game. Look, Stafford wasn't great in the second half. They didn't get it done. It was really simple for me. They struggled in this game offensively. Too many mistakes, too many penalties, a turnover by Stafford. You just can't have these type of mistakes. Missing a Golden Tate on the deep ball. Too many mistakes at home versus a team that you should beat. This is a bitter pill to swallow. And if you're the Lions, and that's it for me in terms of the likes and the dislikes. If you're the Lions, this is why you're going to be 7-9 at the end of the season. This is why you can't make the playoffs. This is why you're not a good team in your division, because you don't find a way to win games that you're supposed to win. You can't lose at home to the Tennessee Titans. You can't beat the Indianapolis Colts on the road, score 39 points in the process, then come home, lay an egg, and only score 15 in a loss to the Tennessee Titans. That's how you play 7-9 football. And that's what you're going to end up being at the season's end. 7-9. That's as good as you're going to get because of losses like this at the crib. I listened to Lions fans talk about how this team is going to turn the corner and how this team's going to be better defensively. Well, they were better defensively in this game. But the offense didn't show up. And so, yeah, the officials had a hand in it, but it doesn't matter. You find a way to beat the Titans at home. End of discussion. And so that's why you're going to be 8-8, 7-9 at season's end. Simple as that. For the Titans, big win on the road. Way to find a way to get it done. This team is going to have to find ways to win football games like this. Muck it up, make it ugly, find a way to win. They did that in this game. Kudos to them for going on the road and getting it done in a tough environment, coming away with the W. That's a confidence builder for a very young football team. We'll see what they do with the confidence that they've gained from this W versus the Detroit Lions. Titans get it done 16-15 in Detroit, go to 1-1 on the season. So do the Detroit Lions as they drop their first game of the season. That's going to do it for me. Oh, have a couple of comments, so I'll read them quickly. Let's see. Oh, no comments, so I take that back. So that's going to do it for Titans and Lions on the lockdown coverage edition, week 2 edition of Lions and Titans. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Big win for the Titans. They get it done. Go to 1-1 on the season. Tough loss for the Lions. They dropped to 1-1 on the season. I'll see you many more times. So I've got many more games to break down in week 2 of the National Football League here on Lockdown Coverage. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you next time.